I can tell you the core moment for me. When I was 7 years old, we would go to Disneyland every year because my cousin, Ted Tieford, he was a performer at Disneyland, and he played Goofy for like 35 years, like a long time. And you could never do this now, but one year when I was 7 or 8, he took me backstage and I got to meet some of the performers. This was all around that time when I first saw Star Wars, right? So I got to meet the performers that I'd seen in the parks as characters, and then I got to see, oh, there's real people who get to, do this for a living. That's really cool, because I know how special I feel when I see like Pluto coming up to me or whatever, and I just thought it was so neat that these people who were so friendly and loving, they loved what they did. To be able to be part of the illusion in a way that made people happy was really something that made me happy. So that would be a core experience that I think shaped my desire to be a performer. Well, Boba Fett was always my favorite character. He was the one that, because he was mysterious, he had a cool looking helmet, he seemed, I guess the mystery of him, it was cool, but the design was awesome too, like I always liked the masked characters. That's something. I never wanted to do like Obi-Wan Kenobi or like Luke Skywalker, because that's a guy in a Luke Skywalker, dressed as Luke Skywalker, as opposed to if you're in Boba Fett, you could be Boba Fett, just like a stormtrooper. So I liked all the masked characters because it got me closer to the real thing, or there would be no disconnect for the audience when they see me as a stormtrooper. Like they could believe that is a stormtrooper. What is the temptation is everyone loves the stormtroopers, and there's a temptation to take your helmet off and like, hey, I'm the stormtrooper. So we did that, and it just made it, everyone like loved it because it was, you're the stormtroopers, wow. And anyway, it was very, it was fun to reveal that part because you feel like, you feel kind of like a little rock star a little bit. And, but after that, I always wanted to be indistinguishable from a real thing. So I would always take my breaks, take the helmet off in the back. We're trying to provide escape. We're not trying. I didn't want the glory for, Chris Bartlett, the guy in the Stormtrooper. I wanted it to be that they are seeing, characters that they are iconic to them. But I'd never seen anyone do a shiny chrome C-3PO, and I didn't know if it could even fit me or anything, but I started building it. It took 3 years to build it, and then when I got done, I just spray painted it gold. The dream is that Lucasfilm might notice it and say, good job. Like that would be the peak, that was like, that would be the dream. But I'm just a guy working in my garage at 2 a.m. I don't imagine it would ever happen. It's just a dream. And when they call, which is not something you imagined would actually happen, they call and I don't have it. It's being chromed, so they're like, hey, we would like to use your suit. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the most ironic, unreal set of circumstances that I don't have it right now. And they said, well, hang on just a second. Do you have the number of the place? I said, yeah. So they called it and they put me on the phone as well. They said, hi, this is so-and-so at Lucasfilm. We understand you have a C-3PO costume there. We need that done this week, not in 5 weeks. And they said, oh, no problem. Okay, we'll get it done. And so they did, and it was in California. And then they flew it up to Lucasfilm offices in San Francisco, the Presidio, and they flew me out to there. And so I finished building the costume at Lucasfilm. So the very first time I'm wearing it, I get to meet Anthony Daniels for the first time, which was magical, So he asked me, he said, so, let's hear you do the voice. And that's like Elvis asking an Elvis impersonator, let's hear you do me, and so I'd been working on it, but, it wasn't near to kind of like where it is now. And so I just just did kind of like a really fast, and he was like, oh, that's pretty good. Let's slow it down, and then he gave me a couple pointers on like animation, how the animation works, and how the body parts move separate from each other and things. And that was really just a treasure, A real weight of this was when I went on the Oscars, because now I'm in front of all the magic makers, and I get to make magic for them, and so I better not mess it up, because it's the biggest stage that I've ever been on. So don't fall, don't. So what I did was, again, when I was backstage, I was working with Mike Senna, who did R2 at the time, and Lee Towersey, who did BB-8 from the films, who was also started out as a fan. And so when we're backstage, the performers, the puppeteers, were staying in the crowd, and so me and R2 would just wander around like, again, we're lost, well, of course this is your fault, don't get technical with me. And so when you're backstage at the Oscars, you don't see a guy in a Brad Pitt costume, you see Brad Pitt. Or you don't see a woman in a Lady Gaga costume, you see Lady Gaga. Nobody wants to see a guy in a C-3PO costume, they want to see 3PO. And so that's what I did. And we had some really great fun moments with people who who we've seen in movies or television, who has just the reaction that you hope that they would have when they meet this character. My goodness, why hello, I am C-3PO, human cyborg relations. This is my counterpart, R2-D2. I feel so lucky and thankful to be able to do this. Now, this how it works is, Anthony Daniels has right of first refusal, of course. He's still active doing it. And so if there's anything he's not available for, that's what they call me for. So I've grown, expanded, so when the Mandalorian was just starting to, in pre-production, they contacted me because they knew my work as C-3PO, and they knew I was comfortable in a suit. So could I please come in for this screen test for a character named Zero, and that is Q90, seen in season 1 of The Mandalorian. And so when I got there, I thought, well, there's no way I'm going to get this, so I'm just going to do my best, and it's a gift for them, And then they called me in for the Ferryman, and I was like, what show is this? And they're like, it's Mandalorian. It's the Ferryman. And I was like, am I going to be like shirtless? Am I going to have like woolen legs and hooves and wings? And as what I'm thinking. And so then I asked her on the phone, what am I going to be like, playing a flute? And she goes, yeah, you're going to be playing a flute. And I was like, oh man, I'm going to be like Lord of the Ewoks or something instead of this cool bounty hunter. And so so I go down there for the fitting, and I see it's the ferryman. It's not the ferryman. It's a ferry, like taking people across. And so, and also I recognize the character as being this Kubaz character, like the spy in Mos Eisley, yeah. So I was like, oh, cool, this is great. And I said, so whatever happened with Zero? And they go, oh, you got that one too. And I was like, oh, really? Oh, no one called me. This is the best day ever. Today, I played 20 characters in Star Wars. Some of them are droids, some of them are aliens, and the majority of them, though, I built myself as the protocol droids. All right, we'll check it out. When you're building a costume, you're really building a character, because the costume sitting on a mannequin, it's just a costume. But when you're in it, giving it life, now it's a character. And you wouldn't want it to be just a costume on another mannequin. I feel responsible to continue that, to not in any way make this feel inappropriate, that this character is doing something out of character, or that he's looks wrong, or that, any of that. So, but again, that is a combined effort, starting with George and Anthony Daniels and everything we've seen up to this point, and then just a little bit I was doing at the end. Is this a droid maintenance facility? Oh, my goodness.